who has been following this recall and all of the issues surrounding it very closely, attorney and founder and CEO of the Center for American Liberty, Harmeet Dhillon. Harmeet, thanks for joining us tonight. Our viewers, I think, would just like to have your perspective, if you could set the stage for us, as to the scene in California today as this recall vote is underway.
Sure. Well, in addition to my attorney role, I'm also a member of the Republican National Committee. So that's my capacity here as a lawyer who has been working on behalf of the state party to make sure that the election integrity, standards are observed here. And so we've been doing that throughout this 30 days of voting. This is the 30th day. And depending on how the returns look tonight, they may be counting the votes for some time as well, as we do here in California. So we've encountered some issues over time, and I'm sure I know I've come on the show to talk about some of those issues, but overall, we have the largest number of attorneys in the field today in many of the counties. We're covering 98% of the voters in the state that way. We've made, as a GOP in the state, more contacts with voters this year than we have in any prior year, including the 2020 election. And we are really poised to make sure that this election is fair and that everybody's voice is heard. But like you just saw in that segment from Logan, a lot of the Republicans have chosen not to vote by mail, but rather to come in and vote on Election Day itself. And that's why you're seeing these lines and so forth. And so, it's going to be interesting. Democrats are very cocky today because definitely the Democrat vote up through today has been higher in terms of turnout than Republicans. But I think the Republican vote is going to be surging today at the end of the day when we see those results.
Harmeet, just real quickly, have you seen any red flags thus far today? I know that Larry Elder yesterday launched a voter fraud website. Newsom responded to that in an interview today. But anything coming forth so far that's questionable, any sort of irregularities that are being raised so far?
Well, there were some irregularities on Saturday. There were 2 polling places in Los Angeles County that in the morning were telling people that they had already voted because they loaded the wrong sort of poll book into their computers, and then they corrected that. So we understand that issue has been resolved. But issues keep popping up, and we're resolving them as we go. A big issue that's probably going to be the subject of litigation after this election is the fact that Los Angeles County and some other counties have sent over 10,000 ballots out of the state to people who have affirmatively moved out of California and changed their address. That's inexplicable. I can tell you that, we're going to be investigating what happened there and attempt to put a stop to that practice going forward. It makes no sense. So I don't want to prejudge the results here today, but, overall, I think it is fair to say that we've had more eyes on this election than we have in previous elections, and that intends to be our way we handle these things going forward.
Harmeet, for those of us who oppose the very harsh, restrictive mitigation measures of the federal government and many state governments regarding the virus, the timing of this California vote, I think, is very fortuitous because we just had Joe Biden issue what I believe is an unconstitutional and unscientific order to force most employed Americans to either get vaccinated or fired. And the reason I think it's fortuitous we're having this California vote is it seems to me that it's largely a referendum about the extremely harsh lockdown restrictions in California. Now, look, California's a deeply blue state. The polling shows us, and we'll see if it's accurate or not. Hopefully we'll know later tonight. But the polling shows us that Gavin Newsom is going to survive. But does he only even face this recall because he was so tyrannical regarding the lockdowns in California?
100% true, Steve. What we have seen is that there have been a couple of attempts to recall this governor, but this really took off earlier this year. The proponents got an extension because of the difficulty in gathering signatures during the shutdowns that the governor mandated. And I think you saw not just Republicans, but over a third of the signers of these recall petitions were Democrats or declined to state independent voters. That's pretty significant. Gavin Newsom also won his election 3 years ago by a 24% margin, a very comfortable margin. And if you look at what's going to happen today, if he survives, it isn't going to be by anything like that margin. This is a wake-up call in California that we deserve better. And I hope that the outcome of this election either means a new governor or that Gavin Newsom wakes up and smells the truffles and decides to change his ways.
Well, Harmeet, of course, we're rooting for you in the state of California. We hope that he will be recalled. But let's say whatever happens in this election, say he's not recalled. What do you think will be the impact nationally going forward as we look towards future elections? We look towards leaders that perhaps aren't following the will of the people that they represent.
I think you're seeing that in states like New York and California, most people take your government for granted. It isn't going to change much from election to election. People are fairly apathetic. And I think you're seeing that change with COVID. I have probably filed more lawsuits regarding COVID restrictions than any lawyer in the United States. We won some of those in the United States Supreme Court. We lost more of them. What you found as COVID went along is that, for example, in my schools litigation that prevailed in the Ninth Circuit to open up our schools, a lot of our clients who were parents were Democrats who voted for Gavin Newsom. But when it comes to taking away the happiness of their children or their business or their job or their freedom or their ability to decide what goes into their body, you are really hitting people where it counts, and I think people are going to be looking very differently at who governs them, whether that's Republican or Democrat. During COVID, we had some Republican governors who were very high-handed with their, executive decrees. That happened in both red and blue states. So people are demanding better and representative government.
Indeed. No more mandates. Harmeet Dhillon, thank you so much.
My pleasure.